Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to, I think it's the 12th. I'm going to lose
Holy
count here.
man.
Yeah, I know, right? This is getting redundant, but no, just kidding. It's the 12th episode of In the Corners. We have some BCIHL action to go over with you guys,
Oh
but
yeah.
also don't forget that this is the last, I guess you could say, the last week, week was, the last week of BCIHL action. So we're going into the Christmas break, so the students can, get home and check out their families and say what's up. But first, before we get into all the great action, Matt, how are you doing today?
Hey Reese, I'm doing all right. Good to be with you here for In the Corners again. We're taping at night, so we
Yes,
might be a little off the hook tonight.
we might.
The ups and downs of the seasons are taking a toll on me emotionally, so I've come to the jam spot here. This is where I come when I try to make sense of it all and do some soul searching. So that's what we're going to do a little soul searching and then get back to work here on In the Corners. Lots of action to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Let's get into it, Reese.
Yes.
Let's
So
skate
last
hard.
week, let's skate hard. Let's push into the corners. Let's do some hard work.
Let's not
And
even use the Zamboni. Let's just go. Keep
oh,
going.
let's let that ice get nice and chucked up and snowy, which is exactly what happened at
Yes.
the ENH Stewart Complex last Friday, December 2nd, 2022. But before we get into that, briefly, we'll go over the SFU went over to Alaska, which
Yeah.
they had been. I don't know if it was SFU, but I think another team went out to Alaska previously a couple weeks ago to play the same team, the Sea Wolves. But the SFU Red Leafs, who have been a wagon typically, here in the BCIHL, they took a 6-0 stomper out in Alaska. I mean, they are an NCAA team, so definitely a
Yeah.
big difference in funding and situation. But wow, just not the best way you want to start off a trip out to Alaska with a 6-0 loss. But also in the BCIHL, which I mean, it goes without saying, but that was obviously exhibition for the Red Leafs
Yeah.
since they're not playing another BCIHL team, of course. But the Lakers went to the ENH Stewart Complex in Victoria for the first time this season and left with a pretty demanding 8-4 W
I'd
against the
say.
Vikes. Yes, it was a they had goalies switching, they had
Yeah.
7 penalties, power plays for the Vikes, they had and much more. So we're gonna, go right into that because that's still fresh in our minds. It was a pretty eventful game. And right off the bat, Matt, what do you think? What are your thoughts about the game? Just a little general overview before we start going period by period.
Sure. Well, going into the game, the Vikes, the first game of the season was against the Lakers 2 months ago. That was October 7th. The Vikes lost 4-2 at the Lakers. This game here that we saw December 2nd was a chance for the Vikes to kind of get a little revenge and get back into even standings with the Lakers. Remember, the Lakers have played 3 of their 4 wins had been against the Logan Lake team, right? And now 2 of them are against the Vikes. So going into the game, we were emotional because of the Mariners. The Vikes had just played so well against the Mariners with tight defense and great goaltending. They were riding on a high. Going into the game, we thought, is this like a trap game that we got to watch out for with these Lakers coming in? And that turned out to be the case, Reese.
It did. It definitely did. It was a game where the Vikes they had some ease in scoring at some points, but when it came to the Lakers, they came out flying, and there was 6 shots on net. And Kirsten did get the start. I obviously was rooting for that. I was very excited for that because I think he's a young goalie who's ready to become a starter. But not the best run for the first game of the season that he got the start in. 6 shots on goal and 3 went in. So obviously they had to make the pull and throw Pilon back in net. Drapeau was missing due to a unidentified, unknown situation.
He
Maybe
was around. He just wasn't
he was
dressed. I
around.
think we
He
saw
just
him.
wasn't
Yeah.
dressed. So not we're not sure exactly what the injury or whatever it was, what the issue was, but Pilon was thrown in, and Pilon didn't play too horrible, but it was a little bit of a flurry of mistakes, especially in that first period for the Vikes. There was lots of stuff that they ran into. It was a little bit of a mismatch with the broadcast for us. We were watching the Vikes, who had looked really contained. They had a defensive line, all three defensive pairings looking really strong together and having a really good show out in the last 3 weeks, with the 2 games against the Mariners, and then of course out in Oregon. But it just wasn't that same tightness. And obviously you can't ride on a high for too long, but for me it didn't feel like a high. It felt like more, this is just the established defense that the Vikes have. But they ran into definitely a big obstacle in this Lakers team. Lots of great play by their players. They were all over it. They pretty much stayed in it the entire time. I felt, what I kept saying to myself was, I didn't want to point fingers at the goaltending. Definitely others did. But my biggest thing was one team took their chances and the other one didn't. There's definitely some goals that you could take back, and there are some goals that definitely shouldn't have been a goal. It was a little bit of a sitter, but at the same time, when you get 7 power plays and you score in one of them, there's not much your goalie can do to help with that. So you can say 4 goals should win us a hockey game, but on the other side of the coin, 7 power plays should lead to more than 1 goal.
And
if you're gonna have 6 unanswered. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, on the second period, they had 3 power plays in a row. That was when they were throwing everything they had at Jay Thompson. Thompson was the star of the game, 41 saves, 45 shots. One of the stars of the games. But on that run of 3 power plays, the Vikes were throwing everything at the net, but it was the Lakers who got the shorthanded goals. 2 of them, Grimsdale and Ty Banser. So that was a bit puzzling to everybody in the arena, and the arena fell silent. It was 6-2 after 2 periods. And, the Vikes were throwing it on. Like in the first period, Breton and Banser it was 2-0 for the Lakers. The Vikes crawled back in, though. Eddie had a solid game. He was trying to pull the Vikes along. He put like the train on a chain, strongest man competition, when they carry those crazy items.
Right.
You see a guy like, you see a guy like pulling a dump truck or a fridge or like a dinosaur, apparatus.
Yes.
That's just what came to my mind. Eddie he didn't want to give up. We could tell that.
Oh yeah.
He made it 2-1. Brock Wallace, and then he scored for the Lakers 3-1, 3-2 after the first period. So what I'm saying is the game wasn't out of reach, even though a few pucks snuck in on Kirsten there between a skate and the post, and Answer were zipping them in pretty quick. Even though they had bad luck or bad technique or whatever in the first period, they were still in the game. In the second period, to me, it was those shorthanded goals that took the life out of the building. And credit to those speedy forwards from the Lakers. They're a handful. They're it's the Vikes that wear the yellow, but the Lakers were like bees, like just kind of buzzing around. After 2, it was 6-2. And that's when, Reese, we went into the third period. What are you thinking about my points here so far?
Oh, I'm loving them, and it's very true. I mean, 3 power plays in a row, and I think, what was it, 2 or 3 shorthanded goals, or it might have been just 1 in the second period. But
I remember being 1 shorty, but the score sheet online says 2. Grimsdale and Banser, and I remember that. Remember the Vikes were, the air was out of the building when that happened.
It was, there's a lot of silence, and it just felt like once the Vikes started to get something going, it was like just another thing happened that took the wind out of their sails completely. And, obviously, like you said in the broadcast, this is a team that's gonna definitely learn, adversity. They're gonna go through it, and if they want to have any pride or any skill going into the rest of the season, they're gonna have to deal with games like this where you're not just going to have, 2 games that you play fantastic against your Cross Island rivals and then go into the Okanagan or host the Okanagan and then do the same thing, right? So it was a little bit of a humbling for this group Third
Yeah.
period did not go much better for the Vikes. It was still, I think that's when it really started to get a little bit more one-sided on the Vikes
Mhm.
side, coming off of a first and second period that the Vikes, yeah, they were all over them. They're pouring it on Jay Thompson, who, I mean, goes without saying, he's an amazing goalie. He's definitely, I'd say, the best in
Yes.
the league.
He
Yeah.
looks like it. That seems like the best goalie we saw. And the 45 shots the Vikes got on there, the Lakers, Jay Thompson is the star of the game. He's a part of the Lakers team.
Yes.
Like he plays for them. It counts. The Vikes had to beat him. So
Yes.
sometimes you run into a hot goalie. The Lakers played pretty sound. I liked Grimsdale and Gilbertson. They were killing penalties and they were kind of indistinguishable players, but they were zipping around really good. Ty Banser ended up, I think he got 4 points on the night. The big line for them: Banser, Nemeth, and Breton. Nemeth, 2 points. Eric Breton with 2 points as well. Pretty well rounded. They put up
Oh,
eight
yeah.
goals. They put up 8 goals, and it's pretty spread around through their defense, their defensemen, and their forwards, and of course that solid goaltending. They won the game 8-4. And now on the season, it's 2-0 for the Lakers in this matchup.
Yes.
Right.
And Ty Banser was flying around there. He reminded
Yeah.
me a lot of Rouser from the VIU
Oh, yeah.
Mariners. Like he's just a guy who's on the wing and he's flying everywhere and he makes it really difficult for you to just get the puck out of your own end. He's all over it. He's tough on the boards. He definitely grinds. His stick's always in the right place. And obviously matching that up with Breton and Nemeth, it's a pretty tough line to match up against. And we saw the product of that matchup against the Vikes, and they go 0-2 in that matchup. Obviously going to have to put it water under the bridge. They're going to have to move on because they get a long break and they're going to be hosting there was a name change, right? What did he change it to? It's not the Tom Harris Cup anymore.
I think it's called just the Showdown.
The Showdown.
BCIHL Showdown.
Yeah.
Which sounds good. We might have to put our cowboy boots on and go down there.
Oh, yeah. So that'll be
I don't really look good in a cowboy hat. I don't know. I mean, do you have a cowboy hat?
No, I'm not much of a cowboy. I come from
should
Niagara
have
Falls.
one. Okay. When you don't put on a cowboy hat and go into the casino there and
Yeah, you know what? Some definitely do.
Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Right. And that's the interesting thing about that area too, is that you have only like 20 minutes out. Once you get to that Niagara on the Lake, you get a little bit to the boonies and Welland and stuff.
Yeah.
You get out to where there's just not that much stuff.
Fort
Erie
there.
Yes, they love their country music. They love their guns. Yeah, they love Boots and Hearts, if you've ever heard of that.
Is that a Tragical Hip song or a music fest? Or
it's a music festival in I think it's like
maybe
I can't remember.
Maybe you can't wear a cowboy hat near Niagara Falls because it'll blow off.
It will blow off.
No one wants to wear that like strap.
No one does.
Yeah. Maybe I'll put a cowboy hat with a strap for the showcase.
Yeah,
that'll be good, eh? Well, for me, the Vikes, obviously they got an issue with starting goalie with Kirsten. He'll be back. He had a tough
100%.
first outing. Like that was
pretty
a night. That's as bad as it can get. So it can only get better for him.
Of course.
Pilon had an opportunity to steady it and did okay, but he lets in 5 with 24 shots against. So there's more that he can do too. And then Drapeau didn't show up. He was on a 4-game winning streak. Yeah, and we were loving watching him. He was kind of the Jay Thompson against the Mariners.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Pull one from them. Yep. So he didn't show up. So that's one of my things for the second half of the season for the Vikes. Who is going to take the reins on that spot?
Yeah.
We'll find out about that as we go along.
For sure.
That tournament too is coming up fast.
It's going to be huge, and that'll be important for the depth of the goaltending for the Vikes. And maybe it'll actually dictate what the goaltending will be based on who, performs best out of the games that they have, right? They're given a lot of games in a short period of time, unlike the season, right? So this will kind of test the stamina and the efficiency of the goaltending they got and kind of test them and see, hey, who out of the three of you guys can, hold on consistently the best out of the three of you, right? So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. But when it comes to this game, just kind of wrapping up my thoughts on the game, I definitely did not think it was a goaltending issue. I think the goaltending was obviously a scar in the game for sure. Definitely a cut in the foundation. But I still think the biggest thing that hurt them was their lack of completion of chances, right? They just weren't taking their chances. Their defense was getting broken down way too easily. And just like I had been pointing out earlier in the season, they just aren't dealing with the breakout as well. I thought they were doing great with the breakout against the VIU Mariners because they have crazy breakout talent. They have lots of players who are able to just fly through the blue line and just,
Yeah.
create a lot of
Need
offense.
speed
But
coming up on a rush, right?
right. And the
Yeah.
Vikes again kind of fell short again against the Lakers, and that's what led to the scoreline. Right, they were just, especially on the penalty, on the power play, they were able to just find space, exploit it, and now they have a goal. Where the Vikes, they created lots of goals, but didn't complete their chances. And there were times where I felt there could have been more shots than passes type thing, where
Yeah.
a little bit overthinking, a little bit of perfectionism, and yeah, just leads to pretty big distance in game.
They threw 45 at Thompson. Maybe if you put a few more on there. This Lakers team, this is the first time we saw them. They're in second place in the league, 13 points, 11 games played. They're 2 points up on VIU as of this episode. I've been thinking about this, Reese. I wanted to ask you, what do you think makes them such a good team? Because that's the one thing the Vikes could maybe look at, the Lakers. The Vikes have just as much talent. They got depth on defense. They got depth of scoring. Yet it was something about the Lakers team game that seemed to overwhelm the Vikes. Right. And it's a bit over my head. I don't know what it is about them. Keenan Eddy was on our show here. I keep referencing that interview. He said something about like playing for the person next to you, not playing for your own stats, some
Right.
of the hockey things that we hear a lot.
Of course.
But when I saw that Lakers team, I kind of saw that. I saw, they were feeling good about themselves. They won 8-4, but regrouping time for the Vikes as far as that. But did you see anything like that from the Lakers or from this game? Or am I reading too much into one game where the goalie was hot?
No, I don't think so. I think what you're seeing is just indicative of how this Lakers team plays. They do have a lot of experience. They're not a freshman packed team, kind of like the Vikes. They have a decent line of experience, and they're definitely seasoned from last year where they were the second place team. They took a beating from SFU just like everybody else did, but they were the only ones to put up a better competition than the rest of the teams, undoubtedly. But one of the things that you'll notice that keep their team game so strong is they work upward from the goaltending. So they try to minimize the high danger opportunities instead of trying to minimize opportunities totally. So they like to take less risks when it comes to pinching as a defenseman, when it comes to staying up high in the offensive zone. Like they don't want to leave the goalie out to dry too much because they know he's capable of saving games, right? So if they're able to, and I noticed it too, some of the goals that they conceded to the Vikes were obviously off a breakout and kind of left a little short for the Lakers. But one of the things that they did good in preventing is just kind of not sacrificing too much space to be exploited for the Vikes to have a high percentage chance. Wallace was really good at getting back and using his stick, but still cutting passing lanes. But again, not putting himself in a compromised position. Gattenby's not afraid to put himself in a compromised position sometimes because he's got such good skating and such good awareness that he knows how to get back and he knows how to, still create some difficulty for the other team on the breakout after that. But they minimize a lot of mistakes. That's what I noticed. Like Mariners make a lot of mistakes. I've seen, and I even see SFU make lots of mistakes sometimes just because they have a lot of talent. So they're able to take risks. But this Lakers team was pretty sound. I found they were not risky. The goals that they did concede to the Vikes were a little soft, and I'm sure they'd want them back. But again, they just they work from the goaltending upward.
I think you're onto something there about like positioning. They place a box in front of Thompson, so you can shoot all you want, but he's going to save that one. So I think you're onto something that the positioning maybe. We'll have to see. We're going to see them again in the showcase. We'll have to take another look. They were pushed the Mariners to overtime too the next day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely some. It was definitely an interesting game.
I'm drinking a pot of coffee before bed. I'm living it up.
Yep, that's gonna be the first Metallica album style music coming out of that jam room.
Oh, for sure. Gonna dial it up. I like the Okanagan Lakers at VIU Mariners, December 3rd. Daniel Crawl versus Daniel Paul. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool, huh? The
yeah, the
goalies.
Paul versus the Crawl.
Daniel,
Danny
they were
Paul.
good.
Yeah. That is a great result, by the way. That is a crazy result. Mariners obviously love to take that W any day of the week. It shows you how even those two teams are. And
Yeah.
I feel like if you were to take a look at how the Vikes played and then how the Vikes played against the Mariners and how the Vikes played against the Lakers, you'll see that, yeah, the Vikes definitely had a bad game against the Lakers. But when
Yep.
you take that away and you look at the grand scheme of the whole season, I think the Lakers and Mariners are really close. So if they do have a playoff matchup, it's going to be tight. That will be a very tight game. I think
Yeah.
they're very similar. They have definitely a leg up in goaltending, I'd say, for the Lakers, but Mariners still have great, solid goaltending, and a Fournier and Crawl. They're both two really decent goaltenders, I'd say, and then they have really good depth at defense for the Mariners, and then they have their stars. Both teams have like their kind of one line that they can always depend on. So they're a similar team, and that game must have been a pretty eventful one. Who got the stat? Who's on the stat sheet for that one?
Yeah. I watched that game. It was a tight game. You're gonna like the sounds of the overtime goal score. So hold on to your hat for that one.
All right.
One of your favorites, Reese, I think, coming up. First period, no scoring. Second period, all the goals from this game were in the second period, except for the overtime.
Of course.
Paul Palmer, Jordan Pickard. He's on the Mariners.
Ooh,
So I think
okay.
that's a new player or first goal. So good job, Pickard. 2-0 Mariners. Gabrich.
Yep.
He's good. He's good. He's a defenseman.
He's a great player. Yep.
The Lakers. Sorry for butchering your name there, pal. And Dahlquist. That was a cool one because a Lakers player had a clear breakaway.
Yep.
It got hauled down. No penalty. The puck comes around. Dahlquist scored. So everyone, the Lakers had a case. They were yelling, hollering, and screaming. Dahlquist threw it on net. They tied up the game. Third period,
Perfect.
no scoring except for there was a disallowed goal for the Lakers.
Oh.
So the Lakers, they popped one in, but it was one of those where it was deemed as a kick. It kind of went off the guy's leg.
Right.
So the Lakers were that close to taking the 3-2 lead in the third period, but it didn't count. They went into overtime. They played 4.5 minutes, and Morton, the defenseman from the Mariners, scored on the 3-on-3 period. So it was a VIU victory.
Not surprised by that at all, because Martin is a guy who could fly. You put him in a 3-on-3 situation, he's gonna find options.
Yeah. It was a breakaway goal for a defenseman. That's what 3-on-3 it happens. We haven't seen a 3-on-3 yet with our
not
Vikes.
For the Vikes. No, they which is again that's one of the things about the Vikes, right? Is if they can stop the breakout, they can push games to being much closer. And you can blame goaltending left, right, and center, but if you're giving up high percentage chances a lot of the game, you're gonna lose hockey games. And it doesn't even matter if you have Carey Price. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm a Habs fan who's seen Carey Price play on teams that have given up nothing but high percentage chances, and then his stats look like horrible. It's like people on the outside go, "Oh, Price is not having a good year." No, look around. Nobody's helping him out. And I think, honestly, yes, there is not an argument, but there is something to be said about the lack of starting goaltending for the Vikes. But you also got to score, and you can't be bottling 6 power plays out of 7 and then wondering why you're not winning hockey games and sitting there pointing at the goalie. That's crazy. That's void of reality. The reality is you got to finish. Goalies don't score you goals.
This is the kind of game, though, where the team can start pointing their fingers at one another.
Yeah.
Like, you did this and you did this, right. And I was good. I did my thing. You did.
Yeah.
That could be bad. So maybe they got, I haven't been on a hockey team since I was 15, but I've been in some punk bands, right?
Okay.
You start getting mad at each other.
Yeah.
Getting that resentment all of a sudden, can't enjoy the games as much.
Yeah.
So they have to watch out for that. Vikes have good leadership, though.
They do.
And they'll have 2 more chances to get back into the season series against the Lakers. So I think we were fired up after the Mariners victories because they looked
Yes.
like at times the Vikes looked like they could skate right up to SFU and grab a win off of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
You know,
it did.
at times
Yeah,
they
it
look like
looked like
that,
they were
especially
strong.
against the Mariners.
Right.
So we will see. But a bump in the road. Good job by the Lakers. They take 3 out of 4 points on the road trip, and now they're solidified their place in the standings.
Oh,
We like
100%.
them.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
we definitely have respect for each team in this league. Um,
for sure.
and the only way that the Vikes can get mutual respect from the rest of the teams is they definitely got to step it up. They got to get themselves out of the mix of the bottom two, find a way and create some competitiveness with VIU and the Okanagan, which we know they can because we've seen it in games, right? So yeah, taking a look at the standings now, we got a 10-1 SFU, which is not shocking. That loss is obviously a big asterisk on that record for sure. I'm sure the Red Leafs hate looking at that.
Yep.
Lakers and the VIU Mariners are both 5-3, except the Lakers have 3 overtime losses and VIU's got 1. So they're 5-3, 0-1 VIU, and then 5-3, 0-3 for the Lakers. So they obviously get those 2 extra points from those OT losses. And yeah, the Vikes with 7 games, two games in hand to the Mariners. Yeah, they're 3-4 with no overtime experience yet. So yeah, a little bit of an interesting situation, but let's be honest, not as unexpected as we thought, right? So let's move on to a little bit of positivity. Looking forward into the
Always.
second semester. So Matt had a little bit of a game in mind for this week, and how does that work?
Well, Reese, I'm going to ask you to. We're going to have a top 3 stories. Okay, stories. What do you think were the stories from the season, or sorry, the stories from the first half? What were the stories that dominated your thinking about this BCIHL? And what are 3 things what you think will be the stories of the second half, or the questions you have about the second half? So we can do
Cool.
3 of each, or just bring that. I was just wondering, what do you think the stories were of the first half, and what are you looking forward to? Questions being answered by the second half. Any come to mind?
Yeah, so for the first half of the season, I'd say some stories for the Vikes was number one, and I feel like it's also simultaneously number one on the list of priorities for this Vikes team going into the season, which was prove the rest of the league wrong. So obviously, going off last season, the expectations for this Vikes team was low, and I thought that just going off of how the results have been and how other teams come in to Victoria to play. There's a little bit of a widespread idea of this team is up and coming maybe, or this team's in a rut. This team is not something that should be feared. And obviously, like any hockey team that has a reputation like that, or is at least coming off of a season that's not successful, you want to change the minds of the criticizers. So you want to do essentially whatever you can to look different. And that doesn't mean going 10-0 or whatever, you think that means. It essentially just means doing better than last year. So I'd say that's the first thing for stories of the first half. And another thing that I could bring up
Yeah,
is
do it.
goaltending. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah,
The first half. You know what? I got an idea. I'll do some first 3 stories of the first half of the season, and then I'll put the ball. I'll put the pressure on you. I'll put the responsibility in your corner, and you hit me with 3 questions for the second half.
okay.
When are we doing?
Got
Yeah,
it.
we'll do that. But yeah, the second thing that I'd say is a big story for this first half of the season was goaltending. So obviously, coming into the season, they had I think they had 4 options total, but I know they had 3 goalies that were in the mix. I thought some were playing good than others, and then weeks came by where other goalies did. So it was a very big sporadic position. There was no one, no, not even a 1A 1B situation. Like right now it's kind of up in the air. So that's definitely a big story for the first half of the season. Definitely had some impact on the results of the standings as we're looking at them right now. And my third and last story for the first half of the season, I would say, is a guy named Dan Gattenby. Now, why is because I think this is a player that's capable of dominating this league. I think this is a player who definitely has the tools and has the ability to come into this league and not only lead points as a defenseman, but be an absolute rock in the back too, and just be extremely hard to play against. A lot of, I always felt like, last year and coming into this season, that he reminded me of a Shea Weber type guy. He's on the ice and he just makes the basic play. He's not dumb. Like he's not looking to make some Erik Karlsson end pass, but he can also do that. That's one of the upsides of him, right? He can do the crazy stuff, but he's amazing at the basic stuff. He's a big body. He's got a good shot. Everything about his game, I think, is more than capable of being in that top tier trajectory for the BCIHL. So definitely, I think that's the third story. Can Dan Gatton be as good as he should be? But yeah, you hit me with 3 questions about the second half of the season. What do you think?
There you go. Well, these are things I'm going to be looking for. Reese, I'm going to take it outside of our bubble to the BCIHL. Take a more of a bird's eye view.
Yes.
All right. This is my first season seeing the BCIHL. I'm digging it. I'm having a great time with you and the Vikes down there. Let's say the first thing that is the big question of the second half is the SFU dominance. Will they lose another game?
Right.
We kind of skip over them a lot on the show because we don't really know what to say. They're winning every game. They're going to play these NCAA teams. That's great. But we're looking for someone to go and take a win off them. The Mariners beat them once. SFU has 2 overtime wins, by the way, too. Okanagan Lakers and against the Mariners. So there's a little crack in the armor there.
Yes.
Will the ice break through a little bit just to for interest's sake? My second question for the second half is, will the Lakers goaltending stand up? The Lakers so far 3 wins against the Miners, 2 wins against the Lakers, but they've lost games against the other guys, SFU and the Mariners. So the Lakers goaltending is a big storyline for me. They have 3 goaltenders in the top 7 statistically in the whole league. So they're stacked. Can it hold up, and can the Lakers hold on to second place? Finally, the third story, the question going ahead is, can the Vikes catch up? The whole first half here has been, well, the Vikes, they got to make up their games. They got to catch up. Even now, they're 4 games behind the Lakers and the SFU in games played in the league.
Right.
So can they catch up? This has been a huge story of the first half of the season. That showcase is a big moment for the Vikes. They're going to have 3 games in 3 days against, you can run that down for us in a second, but that'll be a big moment for them to see if they can add some wins to their total and get back over or back to the 500 and back over the 500 mark.
Yeah, I love it. Those are 3 very valid questions, and will have a gigantic implication on what the result of the standings is come the end of it. But yeah, honestly, it's going to be a lot of narratives either being completely proven true or completely proven wrong. And I think this season, first season was proof of, like, this first half of the season was proof that there's some things that were true last year that are still true, and then there's some things that aren't, right? So obviously we hope for an equally unexpected, unpredictable second half of the season. But looking ahead to wrap the show up here, we've got the showcase tournament in the Ian H. Stewart complex. Now, this is a huge event for the UVic Vikes. This is going to be a lesser broadcasted, but more emphasized on you guys showing up. So if you're in the Victoria area, we definitely want you to show up to that. It's a little bit of a showcase. There's going to be some teams that aren't in the BCIHL, like UBC. So it'll be good to see a U Sports team like that. And it'll just be cool to see the house packed for how many days are we looking at? 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 different days with tons of hockey all throughout the day. So yeah, it's definitely something that we'd like you to come through to give some more exposure to the program and watch some pretty good hockey. So the first game is actually Trinity Western. Now, I'm pretty sure Trinity Western used to be in the BCIHL.
Yeah.
But they no longer are, and they're going to be. They moved up to U Sports, which is great. Obviously, you'll love that for them. They're going to be
Those
facing
games
off
are going to
against
be in
SFU.
Burnaby. Those ones are in
Oh,
Burnaby,
okay.
the SFU ones.
Oh, okay. So the SF. Okay, so that makes sense. That'll be the SFU. So if you're in the
Little
yeah,
error by the on the notes by the color guy here. I
yeah.
beg your pardon.
No, that is you actually did put at SFU. I'm just, brain dead. But that's
Well,
okay. You can
someone's
still
got to be
attend
the
that.
home team. Someone's got to
Yeah.
be the home team.
Right.
The Miners are going to play the Mariners in Victoria, for example.
Yes.
Check that out.
Right. Okay. So yeah, they're gonna split the tournament out. It's not all totally hosted at the UVic arena, but they will be having lots of hockey there. Each day of the tournament, there will be some hockey at the E&H Stewart complex. But yeah, obviously you guys can tune in for that. We're going to be going over that, and we're also going to be still uploading throughout the Christmas break. So don't tune out of BCIHL hockey,
Okay,
because
nice.
we're still going to come at you with some great content. We're going to try to land some interviews. If we can't land some interviews, we're going to have some games. We're going to have some interactivity of some sort that we can, get into the in the corners atmosphere. And yeah, that
Sounds
pretty much
fun.
wraps up the 12th episode of In the Corners. Do you have anything left to throw at these guys, Matt?
No, thanks very
Gals?
much, Reese. Shout out to the players. Thanks for giving it your all out there and
I
making
love it.
the league a good place, and the people around, the volunteers. I'm enjoying that. We got nice, wonderful volunteers around for the Vikes too.
Absolutely.
Everybody in the league making it a good place and a good place to be around. So I'm digging it.
Digging it.
We'll see you in that second half.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Reese Savoy and Matt Good from the UVic hockey broadcast team, and we are so happy to bring you this episode because it'll let you know they got to continue to support, because there's going to be lots of good stuff coming in the next.
Yeah,
we're gonna have a couple holiday specials, so, and a
let's
New
do
Year's
it.
special. Yeah, well, it's gonna get crazy over here.
Let's put on the red goal light, just like Rudolph the reindeer.
Just like the Montreal Canadiens are in Seattle. It's 4-2 with 3 minutes to go. So
whoa, you gotta go watch that one.
Oh, I do. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been
Is
great.
Jerome McGinley playing tonight?
Oh, I wish.
That's my favorite player.
Yeah, what a great guy. I think you might be late a little decade.
Okay.
But
okay.
Yeah, what a great inspiration he was.
Right on.
But yeah, we'll
Thanks,
leave
buddy.
you to it. It's been great. Lots of exciting stuff to come from both of us. So, and also last thing I'll mention, don't forget to check out our social media pages. We got the Instagram ran by Matt. We got the Twitter ran by me, and we got the YouTube ran by both of us. So comment, reach out on any of it, and we'll get in. So have a good one, everybody.